keep this short. Following Herb is always a tough task, but I'll give it my best shot. A few months ago, I was talking to Alan, and he's like, I don't really want you to speak at my wedding, but you're the only brother I have. So, here we are.
This is awkward.
For those of you that do not know me, my name is Aaron, and I'm today's best brother. I decided to enter the best brother sweepstakes instead of the best main sweepstakes because there is less competition. Michelle and Alan, it is an honor to stand up here today. I can't be more happy for you too. So glad we can celebrate this day with so many friends and family from not only around this area, but from around the world. There's people from Quebec, Alberta, the States. There's even someone from Australia here. It's amazing how far some people will travel for a free meal. Alan, I am honored to be part of this small army that you call a wedding party. That's the biggest table I've ever seen. When Alan said today would include a big party, I thought he was talking about the reception. I don't know which group is larger, Alan's groomsmen or Rita McNeil's pallbearers. Her music will live in my heart forever. It's especially awesome that we're here today, considering Alan had kidney stones only a few days ago. For a short period of time, there Alan was in quite a bit of pain, and looked as if today might not even happen. There was always a part of me, however, that knew the wedding was going to happen. I knew Alan would not let anything get in the way of him marrying Michelle. That and the fact that we are a Dutch family and everything had been paid for. So, let me tell you a bit about my relationship with Alan. We met in the 80s. Back in a time when Spam was simply canned meat. At first, I think Alan respected me because he would do courteous things for me, including give me the top bunk. Within a few short years, however, our brotherly rivalry intensified, and Alan was already bigger than me. If you look at old family photos, such as the one at table 3, you guys can check it out after. Alan kind of looked like a child bodybuilder. And I look like Janet never fed me. Even to this day, she's always like, Alan needs his protein, Alan needs his protein. So we just starve, I guess. Because of Alan's physique, I avoided getting into physical confrontations with him. Instead, I tried to outsmart him. My favorite tactic was giving him hard objects such as marbles, and then standing in front of glass objects such as mirrors, windows, and pictures. I would then insult him. And he, being kind of like a large dog, not knowing his own strength, would hurl the marble at me. I would duck, the glass would break. I would love every second of it. As the years went on, though, I thought the rivalry was dying down and a possible friendship was beginning. I guess I was mistaken, though. I received an email from Alan on my birthday one year. It said, "Happy birthday, Mom made me send this." I won't make much more fun of Alan, though, because A, we all know he's been through enough pain already this week, and B, let's be honest, making fun of Alan is very hard to do. That was kind of. I may be the older. I may be the older brother, but Alan was and is so good at so many things. He has so many good qualities. Oops. Sorry, I was the one usually looking up to him. Because Alan is nearly perfect and really doesn't make any mistakes, it really made me hard to come up with material for this speech. I need a better proofreader. If it wasn't for the kidney stones, I'd be screwed. So whether it's Alan's, there's a lot of qualities that Alan has. Whether it's his maturity. In grade school, Alan was busy running a website business. Most of his classmates were probably worrying about their voices changing and hair growing out of weird places. Whether it's Alan's toughness, the guy just peed out a rock, enough said. Did you keep that rock though? Huh? No, I know you did. Alan told me yesterday. He actually went into the toilet with his hand and grabbed the stone. And Alan usually doesn't wash his hands. As John Davis told me yesterday. I hope he did that time. Whether it's Alan's, we're talking about Alan's qualities here. I got sidetracked. So whether it's his compassion, he spends countless hours giving to others with his Athletes in Action Sports Ministry, or as they call it, AIA. At first I misheard him though. I thought he said AA. Once he told me he was going to AA for the weekend. I'm like, Alan, I didn't know you drank. Whether it's Alan's smarts, only Alan will be able to maintain a 90 average and still be cool. Or whether it's his athletic ability. His trophy collection was huge, always bigger than my 7th place ribbon collection. There was and always is a reason to admire Alan. Many younger brothers learn from their older brothers. With Alan and I, it's the other way around. But enough about Alan and his Nobel Peace Prizes. Today, Alan is a married man. Today is about Alan and the love of his life, his MacBook Pro. In life, there are people that procrastinate and leave everything to the last minute, like myself in this speech. And then there's Alan. You can look no further than the planning that went on for today. He actually had his wedding website up and running even before he met Michelle. And as Herb was mentioning, Alan likes to plan. When we were younger, we called him the Plan Man. He always planned ahead, thought things through, and organized his actions in a way to achieve whatever his goal was at the time. The Plan Man thing started years ago when Alan was about 5 or so. Kristen, if you remember, we would watch him spend 2 hours making a sandwich, 2 seconds eating it. I wouldn't really call it making a sandwich though, it was more like designing a sandwich. He would lay all the ingredients on the table, carefully place them on his bread. We knew from that point on the Plan Man was destined to be an engineer. I have no doubt that Alan's grand plan, including sharing his life with a beautiful wife. Michelle, you look amazing today. Alan, you didn't even shave. I'll never forget the day Alan got engaged. Partly because he videotaped his proposal, he's a bit of a creep. And partly because he called me that day, and Alan never calls me. When he calls, you know it's about something important. As soon as I picked up the phone, I could hear it in his voice. I've never heard Alan sound happier than he ever had before. I always tease him about how he shows off his engineering ring on his pinky finger. I can safely say, though, today Alan is much more proud of his new ring and even more proud to show off his new wife. Michelle, ever since we met you, we knew you were a keeper. I in particular liked you from the start because you always laughed at my jokes. even though Alan would just shake his head and call me an idiot. You are beautiful inside and out, kind, compassionate, genuine, smart, caring, and most importantly, you make my brother happy in a way that I never could. These last few days have been tough with Alan's health. And Michelle, you have been there for him every step of the way. Michelle, or should I say Mitch, welcome to the family. There are many Michelles in this world, but there's only one Mitch. For those of you that don't know, our family calls Michelle Mitch. Why? I have no idea. I think once I call her that, and for some reason it's stuck. I think Herb misunderstood me though, because he sometimes calls you Mitchell. But don't worry about that too much. He sometimes calls me Kayla. Seriously though, it's bugs. I couldn't ask for a better sister-in-law. And I sincerely apologize about the horrible last name you have to use from now on. I told Alan he should have used Seiler. I went to pick up my tux the other day. They're like, last name please. I'm like, Goodoof. They're like, huh? I went to the Bay to pick up a gift from the registry. They're like, last name please. I'm like, Goodoof. They're like, huh? These are the struggles you will have to deal with on a daily basis. I'm fully confident, though, that you will thrive being a Goodoof. Alan and Michelle, I wish you two all the best in your life together. I love you both. Mom made me say that. I don't have a glass, but let's all raise a glass to the most important people here, the bar staff. To Alan and Michelle, thank you. I'm going to go hug them and then I'm going to go to the bathroom.
Thank you. You know, most best man speeches usually consist of the best man just roasting the groom, making fun of him as much as possible and trying to embarrass him. And believe it or not, I didn't want to do that tonight. I wanted to spend this time to really focus on all the good qualities that Tim has. Like, well, thank you all for coming. Have a good night. No, I'm only kidding. Tim's a great guy. Well, as you may or may not know, I'm Joe Linen, Tim's favorite brother. Yes, his only brother, but that doesn't matter. And as his only brother, I believe it's my duty to tell you a little bit about little Timmy here. Tim and I first met 22 and a half years ago. It was August 20th, 1991, one of the greatest days in human history, the day I was born. I don't remember much about that day. I was going through a lot of the time. But me and Tim shared an instant connection. We both immediately disliked each other. Yes, my brother and I definitely had our fair share of fights over the years. But I believe that was in part due to the fact that we have very different personalities. You know, Tim was always loud and abrasive and obnoxious and foolish, while I was calm and self-controlled and good-looking. You know, honestly, I was a bit surprised when he chose me to be the best man. I don't think he realized that I get the chance to stand up here and say whatever I wanted to about him in front of all his friends and family. A moment I've been looking forward to for years. Well, as I said, me and Tim definitely butted heads growing up, and we had a number of very funny arguments and fights. So, to best illustrate that, I wrote a short poem about our humorous fights. Once I was sleeping atop my bunk bed. Tim pulled me off and I hit my head. Once when Tim was being arrogant and haughty, I asked, "What's it like being a woman trapped in a man's body?" While I was out jogging by our humble abode, Tim drove through a puddle and splashed me by the road. So when Tim was having his friends over at our place, I got a full glass of water and threw it in his face. While he was waving around his new pocket knife, he accidentally stabbed me, causing some strife. It was my finger, but... When I beat Tim at ping pong, he took it pretty hard. So he threw the ping pong paddle into the neighbor's yard. When Tim made me angry, I sometimes took it too far, and so I may or may not have peed on his car. And so this is just a small sample, believe it or not, of some of our fights. But I think you get the point. And I think the positive in all of the fights and arguments we had is that we both became really good at asking forgiveness. Another interesting thing about Tim is that he's always had a strange love for weapons and violence. Tim once had an actual sword delivered from Amazon to his cubicle at work. They had to institute a no weapons policy just because of Tim. They said it was cutting down on productivity. Good again. Tim also used to hide behind his window with his pellet gun for hours so he could shoot and hang any squirrels that came into our backyard. Yes, I said hang, like with a little noose and everything. Yeah, it was shocking when he joined the Marines. In all seriousness though, Tim, I just want to let you know in front of everyone here how proud I am for all that you've accomplished in the Marines. You've had to overcome a lot to get where you are, and you've had your fair share of trials along the way. And I'm incredibly honored to say that I'm your brother. Not just because you're a Marine, but because even though we don't always see eye to eye, you're still the best brother I could ever ask for. I love you, bro. All right, that's enough mushy stuff. Now let's talk about Jess. I'll be nice. I remember when I first realized that Jess was going to marry my brother. We were at our cabin at Hume Lake, and we'd just come back from a round of playing frisbee golf. It had been a hot day, we were very tired and sweaty, and then Tim took off his shoes, took off his socks, he looked at Jess and was like, "Hey, can you rub my feet?" And she did. Now, you have to understand, Tim's feet smell so bad that if he took his shoes off right now, the people in the back would have to leave. Everybody else would be dead. There was a reason why Jess didn't wash Tim's feet tonight. Well, Jess, you are a beautiful bride, and you have so many great qualities. You're smart, funny, a hard worker, a good cook, and you have such a heart for serving and helping people. Your only flaw is your taste in men. Well, you know what they say, weddings are the only occasions where you get congratulated on a mistake. No, I'm just kidding. My mom's gonna kill me for that. But seriously, Jess, you are amazing, and I know that just now you're my sister, but you know you've been a part of the family for a long time now. So. Well, to wrap it up, I'm incredibly happy for both of you. You both now have someone to love and care about, so you don't have to be alone and single anymore. You don't have to go to the movies alone, or go to Disneyland alone, or watch A Walk to Remember alone. Not that I've done any of those things. So, without further ado, if everyone would please join me in raising your glasses. To Tim and Jess, a lifetime of love, unity, and happiness. God bless you guys both.
Come on, we need a big applause for that.
So there comes a time in every person's life when they meet their one true love, their soulmate, their destiny, the person who will know and understand them for the rest of their life. That moment came for Joe 26 years ago when I was born. Hi, everybody. I suppose I should introduce myself to those who don't know me. My name is Philo. I'm Joe's younger brother. And I'm to be asked by Joe on this important day to be the best man is an honour for me and honourable of him to, after 26 long years, to finally admit that I am the best. It means a lot. A few months ago, when Joe asked me to be his best man and asked me to speak at his wedding, he admitted that he didn't really want me to speak at the wedding, but I was the only brother that he trusted with a microphone in front of Liz's family. So, I'd like to start by acknowledging how glad I am we can celebrate the day with friends and family from not only Perth, but all around Australia, and also from around the world. There's people from Brisbane, Melbourne, Sydney, and Lebanon. It's amazing how far Lebanese people will travel for a free meal. Speaking of family, I'd like to thank Liz's parents, Gina and Daniel, for raising the most beautiful and intelligent daughter a man could hope his brother marry. I would also like to say how lovely and well turned out everyone looks today. It's nice to see that most of you have made the effort. Of course, none more than our lovely bridesmaids who look fantastic in their beautiful dresses. Speaking of beautiful, our bride looks simply stunning. It's easy to see how Joe has come to be so enchanted. If I may say, your beauty makes Joe look more handsome than he actually does. Of course, I'm joking because Joe's wearing a Tom Ford blazer and he looks fabulous. So, as I said before, Joe's my brother, older brother to be precise, and we met long before I can remember. We were always and still are very close. There is nothing I wouldn't do for him, and likewise, there's nothing he wouldn't do for me. In fact, we spend most of our time doing nothing for each other. I must admit, it's been pretty tough growing up in Joe's shadow all these years, especially as I started out his life as the golden child of the Farage family. I was better at soccer. I went to a better school. I was better looking. I am better looking, I should say. But Joe was also very clever as a child. When I was younger, I always heard everybody from our family say, "Oh, that Joe, he's very smart. What a brilliant boy. He's so gifted." So when Joe followed in my father's footsteps and became a doctor, he kind of snatched the title of the golden child of the family from me. When he then found a girlfriend who was also studying to become a doctor, I kind of realised that reclaiming that title of golden child was pretty much gone forever. So thanks to you both for subjecting me to being the second favourite child of the family for the rest of my life. As a consolation, I can only hope your kids turn out to be Joe's worst nightmare, like chiropractors or something. You know? There's a really outdated saying that a successful husband is one who makes more money than his wife can spend. However, this saying is not applicable to Joe and Liz, as in their case, when it comes to money, Joe is both the worst and best person with spending money. That is, he's the worst at spending his own money and the best at spending my parents' money. Joe has no issue spending $500 on a pair of underwear or $1,000 on a pair of shoes, especially when the bathroom in his own home fails to meet the definition of a working, functional toilet. To pretend Joe is perfect would be a lie. But one story that stands out from a few Christmases ago, Joe and Liz made it a tradition to fly back to Sydney each year and grace our families with their presence. In one of the early years, Joe was invited over to Liz's house for the first time to celebrate Christmas. A big step in their relationship and something that both Joe and Liz were expectedly nervous about. You know, Joe meeting the potential in-laws and both of sets of grandparents for the first time. Now, in the Farage family, we start our celebrations on Christmas Eve instead of Christmas Day. So this meant that Joe and Liz would spend Christmas Eve with our family, and then on Christmas Day, they would roll on to Liz's family celebrations. Simple enough, right? No, it's straightforward. I vividly remember the look of anguish on Liz's face each time Joe poured himself another whiskey and Coke during the night. For anyone that knows Joe, he mixes whiskey and Coke. You'd be aware that his take on the classic cocktail is actually almost exclusively just whiskey. As Liz rightly feared, Joe became an absolute mess by the end of the night. She left our celebrations genuinely unsure whether Joe would be able to back it up the following morning and attend her family's barbecue. And sure enough, as Christmas morning rolled around, my mum did her best to wake him up from his drunken slumber, but it was clear that he was in no state to drive and attend this function. Now, Joe, still drunk and realising the gravity of the situation he'd launched himself in, was determined to not let Liz down and somehow make his way out for lunch. Now, we tried our best to convince him not to go because he was in no state to drive. Now, most of you would be aware that breaking the seal is, as functional members of society, when nature calls, you manage to do your business in the toilet. Unfortunately for Joe, during the course of the night, he had decided to pee all over the Christmas presents he had bought Liz's family. So Liz, if you've ever wondered why that handbag smells a bit funky, well, yeah. All jokes aside, Joe has been a great friend to me, and while it's been impossible to summarise the last 26 years, I would like to say that over this time, he's been the best anyone could hope for in a brother, a companion, and a best friend. I think the greatest compliment I can pay to you is that you remind me more of my dad every day that I get to know you. I trust you implicitly, so I know I can go for you for advice and support in tough times and in times of just frivolous stupidity, such as, hey Joe, is it safe for me to take Viagra with my heart condition? For all the single ladies, I can, so... To Liz, I really can't put into words how proud I am to call you my sister. You are everything my mum is too proud to admit she's looking for in her first daughter. I still remember the first time I met you. You were working at a designer menswear store in the Strand of George Street and thinking to myself, man, this girl is perfect for Joe. Smart, beautiful, kind, caring, and could get me discounts to designer menswear. But most importantly, I could see that you loved my brother more than anyone ever could. As someone who's unmarried, it's a bit difficult for me to offer you any relevant marriage advice on this special day. So instead, I'd actually like to share with you words of Khalil Gibran, one of Joe's favourite poets. Love one another, but make not a bond of love. Let it rather be a moving sea between the shores of your souls. Fill each other's cups, but drink not from one cup. Give one another of your bread, but eat not from the same loaf. Sing and dance together and be joyous, but let each one of you be alone. Even as the strings of a lute are alone, they quiver with the same music. Give your hearts, but not into each other's keeping, for only the hand of life can contain your hearts. And stand together, yet not too near together, for the pillars of the temple stand apart, and the oak tree and the cypress grow not in each other's shadow. Finally, my greatest wish for the two of you is that through the years, your love for each other will so deepen and grow that years from now, you'll look back on this day today, your wedding day, as a day you loved each other the least. To Joe and Liz.